Good morning, everyone. My name is Chanela Marias, and I would like to welcome you all to our live webcast. The focus of our webinar today is what's new in Microsoft's Dynamics 365 October 2020 release. We have Angelina, our senior CRM consultant and our guru in all things Dynamics, presenting for us today. To ensure that everyone can listen to the presentation, we have muted all the lines. If you would like to ask a question, please use the chat or question function on your control panel, and we will address them at the end of the presentation. On that note, I will now pass it over to Angelina, and I hope you enjoy the presentation.
Thanks, Chanela. Welcome, everyone. I can see both some familiar names and some new ones, so I want to extend my very own welcome to everyone on the webinar today. Just a kind of quick housekeeping check. You would have heard Chanela mentioned, everyone's being muted. This webinar is being recorded, so we will be sending that out to attendees, as well as posting that to our Learning Academy online and YouTube channel as usual. One quick check for everyone on the webinar. If you could just put in the question or chat box that you can hear me just fine. Just want to do a quick audio check for everyone. And just a quick yes, yay or nay into the questions box is great. Perfect, I see some coming in. Thanks so much, everyone. Okay, just a quick introduction. My name is Angelina Jacobs. I am one of the senior CRM consultants at CRM Dynamics, located in Ontario, Canada. I have deployed CRM systems in a variety of industries, dating back to much older versions of Dynamics than what we have today. And really what that means is I've seen just how much the application has truly changed over time and expand into multiple different applications. So it's certainly fun, it's exciting, and I will admit at sometimes a little crazy. Happy to have you all along though for the ride though, so thanks for joining today. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. You can shoot me a message, or just send me some funny memes or GIFs. I happily accept those. So agenda for today, of course, we're talking about the Dynamics 365 2020 Release Wave 2. So because there is so much included in each wave of updates, as well as the number of applications included in that, we're only going to focus on some of the key modules and specific updates for this presentation. This does include marketing, sales, and customer service primarily. We do have the option of doing a part 2 in this series, which we have done in the past. And again, that's just because there is so much included in each wave of updates. But for now, we can really only scratch the surface and highlight some of the many. At the end, too, I'll also share the URL for those who want to maybe dive a bit deeper and read up on the release further. So it may be a few hundred pages along with some supporting online documentation, but I'm sure it's nothing a few coffee breaks can't handle. In terms of timelines, the Wave 2 is a fall-winter release, so this is from October 2020 to March 2021. The Wave 1 is usually a spring-summer, so that obviously runs from April into September. Now, some of the items are already in an early release stage. So for those of you heavily involved in your systems, in your environment, and enabling those updates, you may have some of them already in preview mode. Preview mode is usually pretty guaranteed then that it's rolling out as part of the next wave. but just to mention, delivery timelines can change for the actual general availability, which means projected functionality may not necessarily be released. The other piece to keep in mind is certain updates will release based on timelines as well as region. So Microsoft has plenty of regions around the world, so certain things can be released only in certain regions, let's say North Americas, Europe, and so forth. Or the timing of the release can differ based on region. So they do release certain updates to certain regions prior to moving on to the next. So it's not an all at once release. So first we are going to dive into the marketing application. There continues to be lots of focus both on improving the user experience and, of course, adding in new features. This makes sense since Dynamics 365 marketing is still a new application compared to the core sales and customer service and even field service that we're primarily used to. So to be clear, for those that have been in Dynamics CRM for a while, this is not the simplistic marketing pieces that you often see included in the Sales Hub. So like the marketing list and the basic campaigns. This is the full marketing automation application. And I believe it's probably about 2 years old, or it's getting to that. It was a 2018 release. So starting us off is segmentation with natural language. So this really helps the user to target, the audience without using any complex syntax. It also allows them to, create their templates and, minimize any time spent on parsing segment logic. And I'll show you a quick example after here. But some of those examples are along the lines of what you see here. Customers who live in Canada but not Quebec and work in mining. So that's using natural language to build that segment. People who have a birthday this month and work in finance-related industry. Again, another example of using natural language for segmentation. And while I certainly love diving into live demonstrations, some of these things, because they're in preview mode or they're just being released, it's a lot easier than to just grab the screenshots of these previews. So for today's webinar, I won't be diving into the environments because not everything is actually available just yet, but we've been able to grab these screenshots and previews that Microsoft demonstrates. So in this case, I'm just showing that natural language use when building a segment. So you can see the example here where they've typed in the text of people who have a birthday this month and work in finance-related industries. So that's the actual user typing this in, and then the system is giving back what they think you're looking for. So you'll see here, it's showing which entity. And again, this would be based on your system setup, whether it's account, contact that you're primarily focusing on. Industry, so in this case, finance related, and depending on what you have in your system in terms of data, it's bringing back industries like accounting, broker, financial. It's also bringing back the entity contacts. Again, this can refer to your system setup and what you primarily focus on, especially when in this natural language you're using people. The same could be said for if you say customers, because customers can be both accounts and contacts depending on the organization. And then of course it's bringing back the birthday, since we've said birthday this month, and it actually brings back that filter criterion here as well. So it's just a very easy way to build this out without having to go as in-depth when you're building out this segmentation. Another new feature refers to in-place editing of content. So think of emails, pages, marketing forms, and the actual segments that you build or include in a customer journey. So you no longer have the need to navigate away from your customer journey to create or even revise that content. So the designer can be launched right from within the customer journey, and you don't lose any of the editing functionality that you'd be used to when you normally go directly to those content areas. So that's a huge plus. As it relates to events, you can create as well as revise the marketing forms from within the event itself. So if you're building out an event, and for those familiar with the marketing application, you can create your events, but you can also then from within there create the actual event form that you're going to use to post. There is also just a general redesign of the customer journey as it refers to the new Canvas experience. So for those who are used to the customer journey canvas right now, you'll see that as that update is rolled out, it'll just be a new canvas experience. And part of that too is also to allow the in-place editing of content when you're in there. Next up is social media posting. Certainly can't talk about marketing without talking about social media. Now, some of these are really just improvements, enhancements, and I do have to say you'll no doubt continue to hear the statements like improvement to, enhancement of, etc., which is really just meant to continue spotlighting the ongoing effort that is going into existing features to, dare I say, enhance or improve their capabilities and the user experience. It's no doubt exciting to hear of brand new features. We all like new stuff, but for those who are already using the products, these type of updates, enhancements, improvements can be just as celebratory. So I'll apologize for the overuse of any enhancement and improvement, but they really are the correct words for these types of pieces included in the wave. As it relates to social media posting, the creation experience has been redesigned, improving on the user's experience for building and posting that rich content to your social media platforms like Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. Same goes for the scheduling experience. So again, this is more for those who are already in the marketing application, what you're used to. You'll just see improvements to that experience and what you're already used to creating. Now, most importantly is later viewing all the related interactions and performance. So having those analytics easily accessible from within the platform is a huge benefit. Just showing a quick snapshot of the new post creation. So the form itself might look a little bit different than you're used to, and having that great preview on the side of what it'll look like in the platform. And then just the scheduling here. So being able to see what has already been posted, so anything that's been grayed out, of course, any past posts that have gone through, and then also seeing the upcoming scheduled posts as well as what platform they're going to. And you can see that just by the icons of whether it's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and so on. This one's a huge benefit, and it's certainly exciting to me because Microsoft Teams has just been rolling out globally, and especially with the pandemic being offered to more than just the companies around the world, but to the individuals as well. So from the marketing perspective, it's a much deeper integration now. So you can actually create and host live events with Teams as the provider. So you can still create those live events and meetings within Teams, but this is actually doing it from the marketing application. So the Teams webinars integrate directly into the marketing events. So you can set it up as a live event or meeting. You can also add your producers and presenters right from within the marketing app. Additionally, you can enable check-ins, which is obviously great for gaining better insight into your attendance. So hopefully, you know, in the near enough future, you'll start to see our transition over into this as well. Just a quick snapshot here of event creation within the marketing application. So some of you that have been using this, you may have signed up for an ON24, but you'll soon be able to have the Microsoft Teams as a selection here for your stream configuration, which I'm sure for those who already have Microsoft Teams licensing and that it's well integrated into your organization and used by users, it's just that much more beneficial because it's something you're already using. Now on to form submission matching strategies. So this relates to no longer having the need to map to your lead and or contacts, so the out-of-the-box lead and contact entities within the system. So this also enables a no update to leads and contacts. And just to show you what that looks like in a two-step screenshot here. So from a marketing page configuration, you'll soon have this option to either enable or disable form submissions allowing form submissions without actually updating the contact or lead. So this is a settings piece first. And then when you are creating the actual marketing form, in the update part for that specific form, usually you could select only contacts, only leads, contacts and leads, but you'll have a no update option as well. Now, there are certainly pros and cons to this, and I'm not quite sure which side of the fence I reside on for this update. But if it hasn't really come up as a need for your organization, I wouldn't enable it. From a typical sales or marketing process standpoint, form submissions are usually meant to be tracked to a lead and or contact and update those records. Now, there are always exceptions, I'm sure. So I'm certainly curious to know of some setups where this isn't used and maybe mapping to a custom entity would come into play. So that is one of the reasons for this feature, as disabling any update from happening allows organizations to use other forms of automation for any custom mapping they might require depending on their system setup. So when I think of it, think of a case where a form submission could trigger a flow, if you're using Power Automate, and send data elsewhere, like a custom entity, for example. Now we're going to focus on the sales application. And one of the key updates here is to the mobile experience. So this is certainly beneficial for those field sellers who are always out and about, more often than not are on their mobile devices than their laptops. So this is a huge mobile experience improvement for them. So some of the items include better search, better lists, and better forms. Improve search experience in itself. So when they're typing in the search bar, that the mobile app is giving search suggestions. It's searching as you type, and it certainly presents your search results in better groupings. Also, just to note, there are more responsive lists and mobile optimized forms with scrollable tabs. So again, it's really just improving that mobile experience for your field sellers and those who prefer accessing their CRM via mobile device. This does apply to iOS and Android, just to be clear. Quote to cash. Now, the items specific to this update or this feature, I believe is more geared toward the end of the wave, so like a February to end of March 2021, which also means, though, it could get pushed. So again, just bringing back the delivery timelines are subject to change, especially since this hasn't gone into preview mode for early availability. Now, the enhancements are to expedite the end-to-end quoting process. So this includes changes to screen usage, making it more optimal for finding the products in your catalog or price lists. There's more configuration allowed to the Add Products dialog box, and this is to customize what information about the product line needs to be provided. There's also more product details visibility. So before you even have to select the product to add, being able to see more details on that item, which no doubt will improve the user experience. And then let's talk about usability in general. So some of the continued improvements and new capabilities related first to the enhanced email experience. Now, enhanced email experience did come in the last wave of updates, but there's certainly some additions to that now. It's no longer just active when composing emails, brand new, but supports viewing, updating, and replying from the timeline section of a form. So for those that have the timeline where you can create all different activities, that's also included in there. There's also inline file attachment with the ability to manage multiple files. Building on that, you can also have quick preview for files as well. Second on the list is just more PDF capabilities. And just kind of a quick snapshot of some of the PDF features. You can extend to custom entities, so they are building upon that, where it used to just include the out-of-the-box entities in pretty standardized formats. And again, these are based off the Word templates. Enhanced PDF generation experience, so trying to simplify the navigation, less clicks, easy template selection, previews of the PDF, and just more intuitive PDF export and email options. Again, focusing on that user experience. You can also automate workflows by generating standardized PDF files programmatically using APIs, which is maybe more of a fun thing for the developer engineer teams. And thirdly for this is duplicate detection and merging. So it's not often that we hear much in terms of updates to this functionality. It's pretty basic, but of course it is a good thing to have in any system. It's always a want for any client of, okay, well, how do we manage duplicates? Are we able to merge them? What happens when we merge them, and so forth. So there's improvements to the data visibility to determine why duplicates are flagged, because that's often a pain point where you'll get that duplicate warning, but you don't really have enough information on the screen to really determine why it was flagged, and then also whether you actually do want to merge them if they are truly duplicates. And then, of course, moving into the unified interface, since that transition, if you haven't already gone through it, will be happening shortly just from Microsoft. Just having that full unified interface form experience for merging. So just a quick example, you'll see it has that more UI-based form, and there'll be a few more options available in the merge function. From a detection standpoint, there's more visibility. So the view that you see of what fields and what data is included in the possible duplicates, there's just more to see for you to actually determine whether you do want to move on and merge them or just ignore and save the record you're working on. And this can be when you're converting your leads. So if you're qualifying leads and you're wanting the system to automatically create those accounts and contacts, it does that duplicate check. But it's also when you're creating accounts and contacts from scratch instead of from the lead entity, where it can also run that duplication detection. And when you're updating existing records as well. On to customer service. So first and foremost is rich text control with embedded images. This is actually one of the things I'm very excited about as customer services. One of the main applications that I prefer to implement, or that just happens to be one of the main ones that I often do along with sales and marketing. So the rich text control with embedded images. This is a configurable component, so from a system administrator customizer role, and it's for multi-line rich text input or viewing, and it also allows embedded media. This can be super helpful for customer service agents, when they're managing cases and documenting customer issues, as it allows more editing capabilities in their captures and can allow things like screenshots in line with their descriptions. So oftentimes, if a customer for the organization is providing screenshots of the issues they're having, or has to send proof of damaged, defective products, this can now also be grabbed and inputted right within your case for any of those fields that have the rich text control enabled. And again, that's done from a customizer or system administrator role in the back end that you enable this rich text control or component. Agent suggestions, this refers to both knowledge-based articles and similar cases. So this is AI driven, and it can provide suggestions based on past case content and your current case, as well as historical success rates. So it's analyzing past cases, their resolutions, and what was included in those historical cases to what is being inputted into the current case. So it's really neat AI-driven suggestions to help your agents, because of course you want them to be resolving cases in a timely fashion. So it certainly will decrease the amount of time that those agents have to poke around and find the information themselves. Timeline configuration, so improvements to the timeline, being able to set timeline records to show as expanded by default or not. And that's just something to keep user experience in mind, where usually by default, the activities that are included in the timeline are collapsed, which only gives a snapshot of information. You can enable it that they expand by default so that your CRM users don't have to go through each activity and expand them to actually see what's included in them. It can happen automatically. Also, you'll have the ability to hide status tags, whether things are closed, active, or open, and so on, and disable the what you've missed summary, because that's often just takes up unwanted space on a user's form when they open up an account, a contact, any of that. So for any of you that are used to seeing that what you've missed, where it just kind of has some new activities maybe or posts, you can actually disable that and then just have the user focus on the timeline and whether it needs to be filtered or sorted by newest creation date or newest modified date. This is exciting as it relates to customer service, and I think you can tell I'm excited for a lot of the customer service features in this wave. And this is the Customer Service Workspace app. This is great for allowing multi-session. So if you've ever used Customer Service Hub or the Omni-channel for customer service before, much of the behavior for managing cases and activities in the Customer Service Workspace app module works the same way. So it's pretty similar. Certainly with some exceptions, though, to accommodate the multi-session I mentioned and different conversation capabilities. So with this Workspace app, agents can manage multiple cases simultaneously, and I'll show you some previews of that where it's kind of laid out in a tabbed fashion. They can manage email and other case-related activities without losing context of the parent case. So again, it's to help that agent experience that they don't have to hop around and then lose where they started, that they're able to have the multi-sessions, but also do their activities and tracking without losing the context of that parent case they're working on. It will also include a productivity pane for any AI-based suggestions. So I mentioned previously, knowledge articles, similar cases, and other productivity tools. So it's a really good customer service app that allows them to not have to jump around necessarily from screen to screen or open multiple browser tabs themselves. It's actually contained within the application. Just a couple preview snapshots here for this app because it is in preview. You'll notice in the top here where I have a case open, you can still see the tabs at the top of the case to jump around without actually closing out the case that you're working in. And this can be opening up knowledge articles, additional cases, and even in this scenario, having your case view open. So if you're always trying to have that my active or my open cases available, it's within a separate tab, but within the app itself. Also talking about the activities related to your cases. So in this sense, if you have to send out an email to the customer or to another team member, you're still not losing the context of the case, the parent case you were in, as well as any other cases. So you can open that in a separate tab as well. As it regards to email, I did mention the enhanced email experience. So you could also have this as a pop-out instead of opening separately. So the option is there. Now I'm going to finish off with just some honorable mentions, at least for this part one, and it's really just to bring your attention to some of them. And really it's just bring these up as they can all support and enhance the specific applications we just talked about. So they obviously get updates just as much as the other applications do. So I certainly suggest taking a peek at their current features. And this is, obviously if you're not already familiar, as well as what's in store for this wave of updates specific to these items. So this includes the customer insights, sales insights, customer service insights. These obviously do support the other applications that we were talking about previously. It's a lot of the AI-driven functionality and just additional pieces that really support your users and help them effectively manage whether it's cases, whether it's leads and existing customers. And it can be anything from better segmentation for your marketing, where the system can handle that for you and make recommendations. It can be talking points if you're reaching out to a new lead. It can be flagging accounts that maybe haven't been touched in a while and have a very, very low score. And then of course with customer service insights, I think I mentioned some of them where it can suggest, similar cases that the agent can look at to help resolve the problem quicker, as well as knowledge-based articles to suggest based on any tags and any other context within the case. So really just helping speed up the time that agents can, or speed up the time spent on any of their individual records. Lastly, I did add customer voice in here. So that used to be Forms Pro. That was more of a name change. But Forms Pro took the place of Voice of the Customer as a completely new solution. And I believe Voice of the Customer was officially deprecated in the summer, maybe July this year. So if you haven't, you would have moved on to Forms Pro, but that's just been a name change now to Customer Voice. And again, part of the wave of updates in the whole Dynamics 365 platform.
Thank you, Ange. Again, if you'd like additional information, would like to set up a meeting to chat more about the new features, feel free to contact us and we would be happy to provide a demo for you. You can also visit our website, www.crmdynamics.com. I would like to thank you all for taking the time to attend our presentation today, and we hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone, and take care.